Welcome back to Coins from the Crypt. Bitcoin just can't catch a break. We're still struggling below this 0.5 here. And I extended that line I had drawn just below this wick here yesterday. We can see that we came back up above it, tried to get support, but quickly got rejected. And now, as we're coming back up to it again, we're seeing us get rejected with this M pattern, which doesn't look good. The bulls are really going to have to hope to get above here. As far as taking a short play now, I feel like it's pretty risky to jump into any positions to the downside. It may very well go down further from here. But if we just go out on the daily, we can see that there's a lot of areas of resistance and support here, like a cluster. And the rule of thumb is a trend will generally go down to the area between the 0.5 and the 0.618. It can come right down and touch the 0.618, but it doesn't have to. And when we're seeing a lot of historical chop here, and with the RSI being as oversold as it is, it's coming in around 20. We are due for a bounce, and it is hard to tell exactly where we will get that bounce. If you're trying to do that, that's called bottom fishing, and most of the time you will lose doing that. You want to be waiting for confirmations when you start to see support. In my opinion, the play was back here to short. Once this structure broke, you would have had clearly defined risk and reward. You could have set your stop loss back inside the structure, up here, back inside this rectangle. And if we came back in, you would have just got stopped out for a small loss. But we can see that we just broke flush down. And the area that we would have been reassessing here to see if we were going to take profits or close our position altogether would be here around this 0.5. And once we've seen what kind of response we had here, then we could make a better decision. But as far as entering a short right now, I feel is extremely risky coming into this region here. Although we could come down and touch this 0.618, we don't have to. And we don't have anything here clearly giving us any sort of edge over the market like we did back here. So I just want to show you a little more on what I was talking about these last few videos. So I got this chart that has more Bitcoin data on it. So if we go from the bottom to the top here, now this is quite some time ago. We're talking 2011 back here, up to this cycle high here in 2013. You can consider this one cycle, and even if we do that, we'll see the same thing play out. But we can see that on a macro scale, once we started to come down, we did spend some time here in this 0.618, between the 0.618, 0.5, but we capitulated. It signaled the bear market once we did. Even if we take the bottom here and we want to call this a cycle, we can see the same thing play out. It came back down to the 0.618, and it did finally break it in capitulation. So if we keep that there and we move on to the next one. So we'll go from the absolute bottom here and take it back to the top. And we can see again, it did the same thing. It came back down to this region, capitulated. This was the bear market, presented the best buying opportunity. And even if you wanted to consider this a cycle in itself, you could say, okay, from the bottom to the top, it did the exact same thing. So that's what's leading me to believe that we're going to at least come back to the 0.618. Here we go. We can see it here. So it wouldn't be abnormal at all for us to capitulate even a bit below the 0.7, because we can see that we always really did. And once it did capitulate below this 0.7 here, it really presented the best buying opportunity and quickly got bought up. And that's usually the signal that the bear market has bottomed. But you can see this. You should do this on the chart yourself. I recommend getting really comfortable and used to using the Fibonacci sequence just because cryptocurrency seems to respect it so much. But yeah, that's basically what we're looking at here when we look into these to current day here. We can see that we could spend some time here, but because we spent some time here, it doesn't mean that we have to just go right back to this 0.618 and capitulate immediately. We're going to see some bounces here that trick some people. People are going to think, oh, the bull market is still on. And I'm not saying the bull market is off. This doesn't have to happen. I'm just saying we're seeing a lot of confluence with historically what happened. But it doesn't have to happen right now. But it's kind of looking like it might, especially with the state of just the world in general. I mean, it looks like the world is falling apart right now. Even traditional markets are getting quite the scare. So do I envision that in the next couple of months, Bitcoin is going to go straight up to 100K? No, I don't. I'm leaning more bearish. I think we're going to see a touch at this 0.618. We might get another bounce and then finally even another capitulation event. But again, that's not something to really be afraid of. A trader can make money shorting this market. And if you're a long-term investor, this is when you're going to get your best buying opportunity. If you were happy buying Bitcoin at $50,000 or $60,000, you should be ecstatic to buy it at $20,000 or lower. But the thing is, human psychology, you're just afraid of it, and nobody wants to touch it with a 10-foot pole when it's down there. But the people who make that buy, make that purchase, and just tough it out, yeah, you might take some hits. It might take a little while to turn around. But historically, all through Bitcoin's history, the people that did that profited the most and seen life-changing gains. So these are all things to take into consideration. You want to have patience. You want to wait for clear directions. Like I said, I wouldn't be jumping into any positions right now. I'm not telling you what you should do. I'm just saying what I would feel comfortable doing. I would be waiting for maybe a touch here or a bounce, and we come back to here, and it looks like we are getting some resistance in. Maybe you can short it. You have to take these things as it comes because it's impossible to say what the market conditions are going to be like once we get into those regions. So it's time to be keeping an eye on this, folks. I do feel like a bounce is imminent. It's hard to tell exactly when. We will have to be looking at our indicators, such as the RSI, looking for bullish divergence. We're seeing some divergence now, but it means nothing until it's confirmed. And you can see that we don't have any higher highs. It looks like we're making an M. So until we break above this line and start to come up here, my bearish position isn't changing. So we'll take a look at this tomorrow and see where we're at. So until then.